Hi, my name's Dave. I'm 39 years old and I live here in Seattle. And when I first reached out to Kim, for me it was really about just simply updating my wardrobe. I was at a transition point in my life and I was just looking for something and someone to help me kind of spruce up what I was wearing day to day. The washcloth t-shirt, not really all that interesting anymore. Obviously I'm wearing pants that are definitely too long and probably appropriate for somebody about 50 pounds bigger and a couple of inches taller. And as far as my shoes, not very exciting, not very creative, and that really doesn't speak to who I am as a person. So as I started working more closely with Kim, we actually spent, surprisingly, a lot of time talking about who I was as an individual. We spent time talking about my creative side. We spent time talking about my serious side, talking about my fun side, what kind of colors, what kind of patterns do I like. And I realized that through the process, it was more than just simply, the clothes that I was wearing. You're going to see some videos down the road that, for the most part, you're going to see some nice, better looking clothes, nicer shirts, better looking jeans, cool shoes. But really the impact that this particular process has had has been much more than just simply the clothes. It really, for the first time, actually married the clothes that I wanted to wear and that I felt comfortable in with who I was as an individual. And it's a process that surprisingly was much more impactful in that I've already noticed that I'm not the same person that I walk into when I walk into office or I walk out of the office. I'm not the same person or wearing the same clothes when I'm playing around with the girls. And I just want to thank Kim, and I think you're going to see some really interesting transformational clothing in an individual by the time this video is done. Thanks. Hey everybody, this is what I would call the sporty outfit. So before Kim got me into the fashionable sporty, I would typically wear a pair of sweats, running shoes, an old ugly t-shirt, and quite candidly didn't really look all that age appropriate, and surely, according to my 10-year-old daughter, did not look cool. So what we've got on now is what I would call fashionable sporty. So first we've got the jacket for Banana Republic, super soft on the outside, very light, very, very comfortable on the inside. We have a super cool t-shirt also from Banana Republic. Don't know what the actual painting is, but I like it. Centerpiece, William Brass jeans, very flexible, and I mean that in terms that they stretch, so if I eat too much, they'll grow with me. And then last but not least is we've got a pair of diesel shoes from Nordstrom, which are super comfortable, almost feel like as much of a sock as they do a shoe, and quite candidly, you gotta love the sporty, and that's the sporty outfit. Alright, as you can see, pretty big improvement from what I had on previously. So one of the things that Kim and I actually set out to do was to really define just kind of the sense of style and, more importantly, match kind of how I felt and how I wanted to feel with the clothes. And so we actually thought about what kind of the brand element would be, and we ended up with what we would refer to as the well-versed modern classic. So the first thing that we started with were my shirts. I really do enjoy my shirts. However, what I was wearing previously was way too long and baggy. The shirt sleeves often came down here and I'd bunch them all up, and they just didn't fit my frame very well. So one of the first things that Kim ended up doing was to take a look at my torso, figure out what the right fit and the right size of the shirt is, and then most importantly, what the right color is relative to my skin tone. So this is a shirt that we got from a store called The Road in Bellevue. The minute I saw this shirt, I was like, gotta have it. Just the right color, has a really cool creative pattern, which kind of meets my fun side, and I just think it's really super cool. The second thing that we did then is obviously took a look at my jeans. As you saw in the previous video, my jeans that I wore before were either too long, they were too baggy, and they just didn't look, and they also didn't feel very comfortable as well. So Kim was able to walk me through what an actual good pair of jeans actually feels like, and more importantly, what the right fit and the right cut is for my particular style. So these jeans are William Brass jeans, and they're super comfortable. They also kind of have a stretchy feel to them, and they just are really, really comfortable. They got a really cool seam at the bottom, and I just love them. So the last thing we looked at were my shoes, and to date I've actually worn pretty conservative and, dare I even say, boring shoes. And so one of the things we wanted to do was to try and kind of match my fun and creativity side with something on my feet. So we ended up with a pair of really cool shoes from Nordstrom, as you can see here. And at first it took a little time for me to get used to something that had so many patterns to it. But as we actually started to put everything together, the shoes, the pants, the shirt, and started to get the right colors in play, we actually ended up with a really, really comfortable look that not only looks great as far as what the outside world sees, but it also makes me feel great. This is exactly the kind of comfort and the kind of look that I want, and really matches my personality very well. So I want to thank you, Kim.